Hi there, my name is Margaret Bannon, and welcome to Play Tennis Practice Yoga. I am both a USPTA certified tennis pro and Yoga Alliance yoga teacher. And today I get to share with you my greatest passion, yoga for tennis, in a posture called Warrior Two Pose. So there are other warriors out there, but Warrior Two Pose is one of my favorite yoga for tennis postures for a number of reasons. So for one, it mimics our ground stroke like shape. So if I were to pretend that I were hitting a forehand, my front knee is a little more bent, my back leg is straighter. It places us in a very familiar position. And while we're not holding our strokes that long while we're playing tennis, it's a nice idea that we can help build some strength in the upper body, the lower body for this very familiar position. But also, this pose is very grounding and it's great in opening the hips. As tennis players, we can be very tight and through the inner thighs. And as we hold the pose, we can help work on building strength, but also cultivating a little bit of stillness and being comfortable in working towards a little more equanimity that we're working towards when being on court. So, those are the reasons why you might practice Warrior Two pose in order to improve your tennis game. If you find this video helpful, I would love for you to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel where I release videos every Tuesday for Yoga for Tennis Tuesdays. Sometimes with yoga postures and other times with little drills to work with on court. So with that said, let's go ahead and come to our mat. So all you need is a mat for your practice today. And we're going to start centered on the mat. Now, because I haven't done anything yet, I want to take a little time to feel my feet, find the balance of the feet. So I didn't mention that Warrior Two pose can also be very nice for the balance as well as other things such as building strength and supporting our tennis knees. So feel your feet start to feel a little more strengthened through the thighs, and just go ahead and stand upright for a moment. Maybe even connect to your breath. So if you're interested in learning more on the breath, I have a series on yoga for tennis breathing that you might check out on the channel. And so now that you have a little more awareness in through the body and with regards to your breath, bring your hands to your hips and you'll step your feet apart 3.5, 4 feet. So these are just guidelines. If you're taller, you might be taking a wider stance. If you've been practicing longer, same thing. You could also go shorter in stance if your balance is a little more challenged. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my right toes towards the short edge of my mat. And I'm just going to take a moment to align my heels with one another as I kick my back heel out slightly. Always really nice to feel the grounding of the feet before you move on. I'm going to allow this back hip to come in slightly, but my chest is going to face the long edge of my mat. So because we're not warmed up yet, let's do this in movement before we hold. So as you inhale, bring your hands in line with the shoulders. You can take a quick peek to see if that's really happening. And as you exhale, bend the front knee. So I'm hoping to see that front knee stack over the heel. And then as I inhale, I'm going to straighten that front leg. And as I exhale, I'm going to release my arms. So let's try that again. Inhale, bring your hands in line with the shoulders. Exhale, bend the front knee. So again, you might take a peek to see it, that it's tracking over the center of the foot. Inhale, come on up. Exhale, release. So start to move to the rhythm of your own breath now, if possible. Inhaling, exhaling. So while that front knee bends, the back leg is straighter. Inhale up, exhale, release. And you're trying to allow for your torso to be centered between the two legs. So there's a tendency to want to reach that torso forward a bit. So we're going to do this 2 more times with movement. You also notice that I'm beginning to look over my front hand. That can help me with my concentration as I look at one point of attention here. And so now that we've taken some movement, let's go ahead and hold the pose. So I'm going to come into the pose. This might be where I fine tune the pose a little bit more. So I feel the strength of my front leg. I feel my back leg straightening a little bit more. Maybe I think about firming up the back knee area. And I feel my hands reaching away from one another from the center of my chest. So I'm going to gaze past the middle finger of this front hand as I take a couple of breaths. And then I'm going to go ahead and come on out. I'm going to bring my hands to my hips and I'm going to turn those front toes in. Take a breath, and then we'll repeat on the second side. So this time I'll go ahead and turn so that my left toes are pointing towards the short edge of my mat. Again, I'll take a little peek to see that my heels are aligned. So if you weren't thrilled about your stance last time, now's your opportunity to shorten or lengthen your stance. I'm going to kick that back heel out a bit. And again, I'm going to feel my feet solid on the ground. So I feel stable. I'm going to allow the back hip to come in a bit. This helps us protect that front knee a bit and the low back a bit, but the chest faces the long edge of the mat. And like we did on the first side, let's go ahead and move on breath. So as you inhale, let's bring the hands in line with the shoulders. And as you exhale, start to bend your front knee, almost as if that front thigh is spiraling outward. Inhale, stand up taller, straightening that leg. Exhale, release the arms. So it's an inhale, hands come in line with the shoulders. Exhale, we bend that front knee as if the inner knee is reaching towards the outer knee. Inhale, come on up. Exhale, release. We're starting to move on your own breath now, rather than my call. Back leg working towards straighter as that front knee bends. Notice if you're starting to feel a little more warmed up, maybe building some heat, a little bit of sweat. I know your teacher is starting to feel that way here in sunny Florida. See if you can find the flow that feels good. And now that we've taken some movement, let's go ahead and hold that. I'm going to come back into it one more time. I'm going to feel what's happening in my legs. There's an even workload in through the legs, even though they're doing two very different things. There's a lot of multitasking happening. I can also feel the sides of my waist long. So I reach up through the sides of my waist. I can relax my shoulders down the back. And again, from the center of my chest, I can reach out through the arms as I gaze just past the middle finger of this front hand. And then I'm going to slowly come on up. I'm going to bring my hands towards my hips. I'm going to turn those back toes in. I'm going to heel toe my feet together. And I'm going to work my way back just as we began towards this mountain pose, feeling the soles of my feet a bit more grounded, maybe feeling my breath. Let's take a nice breath here in mountain pose. And so at the beginning of the video, I mentioned some things that you could feel in the pose. However, I can't really tell you how to feel the pose. I would be curious to know how or what your experience was of the Warrior Two pose. Please let me know that in the comments below. Check out our channel for other practices. I have a playlist called One Pose at a Time where we work on these poses, one pose at a time. But I have other videos that are a little longer in length, as if you were going to take a little mini yoga class. And so please explore those. I'm looking forward to practicing more with you on Tuesdays for Yoga for Tennis Tuesdays. Namaste.